And yeah, everybody knows who you are. But still, before beginning, as a ritual, I would like to introduce to everybody here about Mr. Gibson. So, with 2 years hosting the oil and gas industry's most popular live stream show, We Door Locksmith, David Gibson has earned a reputation as a disruptive thought leader in the field of emerging oilfield technology. An engineer turned entrepreneur, David now owns and manages Gibson Reports, MWD, and Directional Drilling Market Research firm, as well as partner and board member for several startup companies. Launching his oilfield career as a UT trained mechanical engineer, David has a 10-year track record of working for both major and independent service providers in global and domestic onshore and offshore capacities, operating a wide range of tools from survey on connection to offshore penta combos, serving in leadership roles ranging from subcommittee chair to board of directors in several professional oil and gas associations like IADD, SPE, AADE, and IATC. David is a highly requested public speaker and has been featured in 11 different industry podcasts and live streams to date. Known for his catchphrase, Know Your Industry, David's core mission is to drive the oil and gas industry towards a more knowledgeable, sustainable future. So once again, welcome, David.
Thank you for having me. I do appreciate it.
So should I start with the questions, or you would like to begin with anything that's on your mind right now?
No, let's start with the questions.
Okay. So the first question that I have here is that everybody on LinkedIn mostly knows who you are, but we want to hear it from you about your entire journey. How would you like to, put it into words across?
Well, my entire journey is a long journey. It has not been a short journey. It's been a journey of many downfalls, but of perseverance. So as we started out earlier before you came on, I went to school at University of Texas at Arlington. I studied mechanical engineering. I paid my own way through school by working at UPS part-time. I eventually went from being just a package handler to working my way up to being a facility engineer. At the time that I finally decided I was done with school, I then applied for a job, or I got a call, or got a recruiter called me to be able to interview for a job with Schlumberger. Long story short, I accepted the job with Schlumberger. One of the most important things that I tell to students and anybody else that's looking to be able to join the industry, I was laid off, right? I was let go from Schlumberger. There's no two ways about it. I was let go, just like a lot of other people were, a lot of good people were. My next job was for a company called Boreview Services. I quit that one to go to another company called Childress Directional Drilling, where I was fired. Right? I was fired from that job. The next company I went to was Premier Directional Drilling. I got fired from that job as well. The next job I went to was New Tech MWD Services, where I was the Chief Technology Officer for them, and I was laid off from that job. My next job was for Lodestar International as their Vice President of Drilling Solutions. And I was laid off from that job as well. At which point in time, I finally decided to start my own company. I say that because I think it's important for people to be able to know, especially people who are just now joining in the industry or fresh graduates, that being laid off or being fired is not the end. It's just a transition, and just means that there's something else new to do or another way to be able to take your career. So wear it with a badge of honor and just keep moving forward.
Okay, so Yeah, so I guess in short, you've told us the challenges and struggles that you went through. My next question was that actually that what are the challenges? But as you told, there were so many jobs that you went through when you were laid off from them. So eventually, how did the idea of finding Gibson reports occur? Like how this idea took place and how did you go ahead with it?
So the challenge is at the time I was working for the company Lodestar International, and I was having a hard time figuring out who was doing what work and how much work they were doing. So there was a little bit of confusion there to me, and there wasn't like a single data source. Like Utesh said, he works for Inverness, whatever their name is. I had reached out to them actually to be able to do and requested them to do what I'm doing right now. I even told them how to do it and they turned it down. And so what I did was I created my own software. I created my own solution. And at that point in time, we had a pretty good solution. And so prior to being let go from Lodestar International, I had approached the owner and said, hey, look, I think we've got a pretty good product here that we could sell. He said he didn't want to sell it. So I said, well, let's use it as a marketing tool. Let's just put it out there and see if it helps drive traffic to our website. He said he didn't want to do that either. So I was stuck with a commercially viable product that I couldn't do anything with. And then when I was let go, I told the owner, I said, look, I'll sign off on all the paperwork. I'll do whatever I have to do, but I get to take this idea with me. And he was like, sure, whatever, you can have it. And so then I started my own company.
Okay, okay. So since we're discussing about Gibson Reports itself, I now would like to know some of the products and services that Gibson Report offers. So please go ahead with that.
We offer a oil field market report, oil field market share report, specifically within measurement while drilling and directional drilling services, as well as we offer custom software development. And then, we do a lot of pro bono things in the industry. We have a free MWD directory, a free operator directory, a free wireline directory, and a free industry report. All that's on our website at gibsonreports.com.
Okay, so now that we've discussed about Gibson Reports, I would now come to Weed or Locksmith, and I would like to know why a live LinkedIn show and how did that come to your mind? And what are the main topics that you try to come up with on the platform and
So after starting Gibson Reports, I was getting into trying to be able to get the name and the brand of the company out there more. And so digital media content is obviously a very strong method to be able to do that with. And I've got a strong background as far as video broadcasting. My mom is a 30-year videography professional. And growing up, I helped her significantly, from doing different kinds of things. And so when I started my own company, I wanted to be able to do more video stuff. And what happened is one day I was kind of talking about it and I was like, if I could just go live on LinkedIn, that would be so much easier. Like I would just go live. I prefer to be able to do live interaction. And so the day that we had that conversation was the day after LinkedIn had made their press release that they were going to allow people to start broadcasting live on their platform. So that day we applied, and 3 months later we were approved. So I was one of the first 25 people to be allowed to broadcast live on the LinkedIn platform. And so, we just said, all right, let's do a show. And I kind of bounced around a couple ideas and I said, Vidor Locksmith. That's what we'll call it. And just kind of went with it from there. And so at the first, I just wanted to start interviewing my friends, people I knew in the industry, and then kind of started working my way up and interviewing some of the other longstanding professionals, professors, people like Fred Dupriest, Graham Mintz-Wilmot, Dr. Rebello Samuel, Dr. Amy Fox, Steve Noss. These are some of the most legendary people in our industry, some of the most educated, some of the most impactful people. And so then I wanted to be able to bring them onto my show and let them, educate the audience and let them teach people about what's going on in our industry.
Okay, so this surely, I'm sure along with me, it's really, this all is very inspiring to hear. So the two ventures I have already asked questions about. Now I would like you to shift your opinions towards the oil and gas industry and tell me, we know about President Biden's policies. They are mostly shifted towards, cleaner energy. So according to you now, what is the future of oil and gas industry?
So regardless of what administration there is, oil and gas is going to be dictated by the people who are in it and then the people who consume the products. Administrations cannot stop it, and administrations cannot prevent it, mainly because it is a global product. So even if oil and gas was illegal in the US, the professionals like myself who reside in the US would then just go work outside of the US. So it really doesn't matter too much who the administration is. That doesn't really, to me, that doesn't have a direct impact on the industry as a whole. It may change some smaller things in the way that we do business. But overall, the industry going forward is going to continue to exist because consumption of energy still exists. And that's probably the most important thing to be able to look at is, are we consuming less energy or are we consuming more energy? We've all seen that companies like BP, Shell, ExxonMobil, ConocoPhillips, Oxy, a lot of these large multinational companies, Equinor as well in there, have started to move towards being not oil and gas companies, but energy companies, which essentially is what they were all along. Oil and gas is a energy product. And so if they're diversifying their energy product portfolio from just being oil and gas to, wind energy or solar energy, it's just them diversifying their portfolio. And quite frankly, right now, there's a lot of money being offered, and there's a lot of cultural benefits, within the current per se climate that people are looking at some of the businesses and how they do things. So there's definitely some advantages there to being able to promote those things a little bit more. They're still all drilling wells. They haven't stopped, right? They're just highlighting the fact that they're doing some different things right now.
Okay, so that was really a very strong point from your end. Like when I see that you come from so many years of experience, so what is that one lesson, if you to pick out from, of course, so many lessons you must have learned throughout the journey, that one lesson you would like to ponder upon and let our audience know?
Winners never quit, quitters never win, and success is never final.
Come again? I'm sorry, that was so fast.
Winners never quit, quitters never win, success is never final.
Wow, that every word has a meaning in itself. Now, moving towards the end of the questions that I have. At last, any suggestions from your end for the undergraduates or the job seekers pondering over the current market scenario that we are having? So, what are your suggestions for them?
So obviously, a lot of the audience right now is tuning in from India. I think Keith might be on here. I would say there's a lot of things to be able to take into consideration after you graduate, but more importantly, while you're still in school, take advantage of all the different opportunities that you have. Adal Hussein, who's a really influential person within the oil and gas community on LinkedIn. You guys should look him up. He's known as the Oil Man. He made a post the other day that was like, you know, while he was in university, he could join SPE for free. He could join international associations for free. He could get SPE papers for free. He could get software for free. You can get tons of things while you're in school for free, but then as soon as you graduate, it all stops being free. So take advantage of those things. Start getting involved in the industry groups, volunteer. And then also, more importantly, one of the things I really like to be able to stress to I don't like using the word freshers because it just seems like you're putting like, don't call yourself fresher, by the way. Stop using that term altogether, right? Because then you're just flat out telling somebody that you just graduated and you have zero experience, right? Think about the term fresher itself and just stop using it. Be like, I just recently graduated. Don't say I'm a fresher or these are fresher. I'm fresh. Like, just stop that word altogether, right? Don't ever use it again. Just get rid of it. The really important thing is to be able to understand your market, right? And how big the market actually is. And I know it's part of Indian culture to be able to work for a very big company. Like, it's better to work as a janitor at Microsoft than it is to be a CEO of your own company, right? It may be a small little company, but hey, I worked at Microsoft, right? So I think it's really important to be able to understand how big this industry is, right? And how many different companies and different players there are in the industry. It's not just Schlumberger, Halliburton, Baker Hughes, and Weatherford. Those are just 4 companies. And so I'll give you guys a stat real quick. In the state of Texas, right? In the state of Texas, where over 50% of all the drilling takes place in the US, right? Of all the footage drilled in the state of Texas, over 55 million feet drilled in the last 12 months. Only 13% of that was done by the Big 4. Only 13% was done by Baker Hughes, Schlumberger, Weatherford, and Halliburton. That's it. Only 13%. The other 87% of that 55 million feet drilled were done by independents, private equity, and some other publicly traded companies, right? There are 55 different MWD and directional drilling service companies in the state of Texas over the last 12 months. 55. There's 5 new ones in that same time span. So if you are graduating and you're thinking, oh, I need to get a job, let me apply to Baker Hughes, Schlumberger, Halliburton, Weatherford, right? You're not even applying to 10% of the companies that are out there. You're falling short of the 10% mark. So taking that and then looking at other companies that are out there, that's what your job should be. As soon as you graduate, your job should be to see, okay, I want to go into reservoir engineering. How many different companies out there could hire somebody who is a reservoir engineer, right? That should be your job, is to look at all the different companies that could potentially hire you. You're a geologist, look at all the different companies that could hire you, right? It's not just, oh, I want to work at ExxonMobil. Oh, I just want to work at, Repsol. Oh, I just want to work at Equinor. I just want to work at Woodside. I just want to work at BP. You need to be able to look at the full gambit of all the different companies that are out there, the little companies and the big companies. Because I can tell you this, if you work at a little company, you're going to end up learning a lot more. You're going to end up having a lot higher trajectory with your career as well than working at a big company. A lot of times you can get into a big company and great, you're in a big company, but you may not be as happy. I can certainly say this, I'm not as happy working at a big company, and you're not going to get the full experience, right? You're not going to get to see as many things as you would working at a small organization. So number one, stop using the term fresher. Just like, nobody in this group should ever use that term again. If somebody says it to you or says it around you, you should say, you should probably never say that word again, right? You should almost make it like a no-no word, right? You should say, I'm new to the industry, right? I'm eager. I'm ready to take the initiative, right? So number one, don't use the word fresher. Number two, understand the market. Like I say, my tagline is know your industry. Get to know your industry. Get to know who the players are. Get to know all the different products that are available out there that deal within the industry and deal with the area that maybe you want to focus in on.
Okay. So thank you for enlightening us upon the terminology so much and the importance of it. As you may have seen, there are certain questions that we have in the chat box. Utkarsh is asking, how do you think would the future of market research look like, particularly in oil and gas industry?
So market research is definitely going to change over the course of the next 5 to 10 years. As more companies start to employ better digital technology, the capture of that data as a whole is going to get better. And so what we're going to see is more companies being a part of consortiums, as well as turning their data over to other companies to be able to package it together, understand it, analyze it, and then be able to sell it back to the industry as a whole, so that companies and individuals can start making better decisions. So I think the companies that can find ways to be able to get a majority of the market share all onto one page. So for example, my company right now has over 65% market share among the directional drilling MWD service companies, right? We have the majority. So Inverness, whatever their name is, doesn't, like, they can't even compete against me at all. So the companies that are able to do what we've done, to be able to give a full market look and be able to aggregate that data and then be able to get it back to their clients so that they can make intelligent decisions, those are going to be the companies that win when it comes to oil field marketplace research.
Okay, so Nitish is asking that what is the role of your specific comments on role of artificial intelligence in directional drilling?
So, oh yes, artificial intelligence directional drilling. So, artificial intelligence outside of directional drilling, artificial intelligence, machine learning is a very, very advantageous tool, right? And it's a tool that works in multiple capacities, works in multiple different industries, right? So it's just a matter of time before somebody starts to apply it to directional drilling and MWD services, right? It's kind of like the internet per se, right? When the internet first started, what were some of the first industries that they used it for? Obviously, government, Department of Defense, things like that. Eventually, now we have, websites that will turn your face into a cat, right? Artificial intelligence is probably going to be kind of going the same route. There's going to be obviously early adopters to the technology. There's going to be the mainstream, and then there's going to be laggards, right? And then there's also going to be the democratization of the technology to where it gets cheaper. The more time and the more things that the more competitors that get into that space, and the more students and young people, they get educated up on how to be able to use it and how to be able to implement it. So more specifically to directional drilling, there's a handful of companies that have created automated directional drilling platforms. You have companies like Motive, Neighbors, Canrig. I'm trying to think some of the other ones. Obviously, Halliburton and Schlumberger also have products, as well as NOV and the Novo system. There's also a company called AI Driller that has created some stuff. You've got Catalyst Drilling. There's a handful of different companies out there. All of them are using it in different ways and different fashions. Is it going to completely rule out the directional driller at the rig site? I don't think so. There's a couple of items that are missing from being able to do that. One is high-speed bidirectional communication with the MWD system downhole. We're still missing that key element, which would allow the feedback loop to run fast enough to where a controls or edge computing system could control the BHA. So it will continue to be implemented. There's a lot of areas for it. I think artificial intelligence in the realm of drilling is first going to be applied for more things like stuck pipe scenarios or twist off or mitigating disastrous or catastrophic failures, as opposed to performance optimization, because any performance optimization can completely be undone when you have a catastrophic failure. So first and foremost, top priority is going to be safety and catastrophic failure events. Next will be performance drilling. And then later on, it will be, kind of optimization of drilling systems.
Okay, so I guess the last question that we have here is, could you please suggest how or what would increase the probability of getting a job in MWD? So
yeah, so they said here they did technical training MWD from a platform called EduCave. I got a depth of field of aspects of MWD. Also have been attending your previous podcasts and technical sessions. Thank you. I've gained sound knowledge in this domain. Can you please suggest? So to be able to increase your likelihood of getting an MWD or directional drilling job, first, you need to be able to understand directional drilling is not an entry-level position. It used to be an entry-level position for some companies. That was kind of like 2013, 2014, when there was, not enough people out there to be able to hire for the position. Excuse me, that's on my. But I would say now, given the current market climate, it is no longer an entry-level job. MWD, on the other hand, could still be an entry-level job. Ways to be able to increase your potential for getting that job is to understand what MWD tools do, understand what the market is. Do you know who Neuralis is? Do you know who Erdos Miller is? Do you know who Benchtree is? Do you know who Key Drill? Do you know who Azimuth, APS, Evolution Engineering, Applied Physics, Pulse Directional, Compass? Do you know who all of these different companies are? If you don't know who those companies are, you don't know who all of the MWD product manufacturers are out there. Once again, it's not just Schlumberger, Baker Hughes, Halliburton, and Weatherford. It's not just them, right? They do have technology, and they buy some of their technology from the companies I just mentioned, right? They don't always internally develop everything. It's kind of a key important note here to be able to know is that there's a lot of oil field technology that starts as a small company and then gets purchased by a big company, right? Knowing those things, it's probably better to be able to pay close attention to who the small companies are and then ride the wave as they get acquired into a big company, right? So if you want to increase your likelihood of being able to get an MWD job, you need to continue to educate yourself. You don't need to get certifications. You don't need to, pay for courses. I know this company, that's what they do. I'm firmly against those kinds of things. I think you need to be able to get busy teaching yourself the industry and the market that's out there, reaching out to some of these companies and not saying, hey, I want a job, but hey, I want to learn more about your product. I want to learn more about your company. Please educate me. Also understand that the US market and the India market are two totally different things in the way that they operate. Drilling and MWD is essentially the same, but the markets are different. In India, you might be competing with more people there, as opposed to if you were able to come to the US, maybe there's more opportunities there and there's not as many people competing for those jobs. And the hiring practices in India are obviously going to be a little bit different than they are in the US. If you're applying for a job in the US as a citizen from India, you have to understand that if you're saying, hey, can you please sponsor me? Can you bring me over there? You're asking the company to take on a lot of burden, a lot of risk, and a lot more work than what it might be worth just to be able to hire somebody locally. Yes, maybe you have a master's or a PhD, but they've got somebody there locally who's already been doing it for 2 years, right? And they know them. So don't get caught up in that downfall, but just understand the value proposition that you bring forward as being a recent graduate, and be able to look at what you can offer the industry and be as educated as you possibly can on the market. Not the things that you learn in a book, right? Make sure you do know those, but also educate yourself on all of the intangible things that normally aren't taught in a book. There is never going to be a textbook that says, hey, here's all of the different players in a market, mainly because as soon as it's printed, it'll be out of date. So it's up to you to be able to understand and know those players and know who's in the industry and know what the different options are that are out there.
Okay. Now, Keith is asking, do you think the initial training at a small drilling company offer the same benefit to a new graduate as some of the very large companies, or is it the opportunity to wear multiple hats that you think is a benefit of the smaller one?
So obviously I started with a very large company with Schlumberger, and they have a very good educational program. It's one of the things that they're very well known for. But at the same time, they educated me the Schlumberger way. They educated me on what they wanted me to know, not what the industry wanted me to know. Anytime I meet somebody who's worked at Schlumberger for a long time, I can always tell that they've worked at Schlumberger for a long time because they don't understand anything outside of Schlumberger.
Okay.
Having said that, it was a great education. Not gonna lie, it was a great education going there. But at the same time, there is very valuable. It's very valuable for somebody to be able to work at a small company, wear multiple hats, and be able to be educated in multiple different avenues of what takes place within that company, because those are the skill sets you're going to need as you rise up in the ranks. Now, if you say that I want to be a resistivity expert, that's my thing. That's what I want to know. I want to go get my PhD, and that's all I want to focus on for the rest of my life. Then yeah, maybe a bigger company is your better route to go. If you say, hey, I want to rise through the ranks, I want to be a field person, I want to be a coordinator, I want to be a manager, I want to be a director, I want to be a vice president, I want to be a president, I want to be a CEO, I want to be a board member, right? To be able to work your way up through those ranks, you need to be able to understand all the different facets that are entailed in the job and in the industry, right? That's not a narrow focused position. That's not a PhD type of job role. Look at all the CEOs that are out there. How many of them have PhDs? Very few, right? A PhD is a very focused, a very narrow thing. MBAs is a very broad, broad degree, right? Business is a very broad degree. Engineering is a more disciplined and narrow approach, right? So think of that the kind of the same way. So if you do get the opportunity to be able to work at a small company, I think there's a lot of advantages to that. And I mean, it's also great to be able to get a couple of years working at a big company, just so you can see the different types of culture and see which one you fit better with. If you fit better with the big company culture, you fit better with the small company culture. I obviously do better with a small company, and that's the route that I would prefer to go. I'm still willing to hire people or or work with people from both different backgrounds.
Okay, I guess we're quite done with the questions. Anybody else who has a question, you can even write to us. And Nitish and Ritik have something to say in the chat box. So we have another question from Dirisu. For a petroleum engineer who is fascinated about machine learning and data science to solve tech and engineering problems, where should one start? And the second question also is there. So let's answer that one by one.
Okay, so what I would say, if you're fascinated about machine learning and data science to solve tech and engineering problems, find one problem and go solve it. It's that easy. Just find one that you're passionate about. So somebody else mentioned, the dashboards, right? Building software and building dashboards. There is tons, absolutely tons of free data sets out there on the internet. Tons of them. Right. For example, within oil and gas, there is Equinor released a project called the Volve project, VOLVE, VOLVE, right? Look it up, Equinor Volve. You'll find this huge data set. It's got everything in there that you could imagine, right? If you understand the data, if you understand the data, build a dashboard, build a software program, build some AI, build some machine learning, and do something with that to be able to show what you're going to show your initiative, right? You're going to show your intellectual capacity, and you're going to show how hard of a worker you are, right? I mean, those are three amazing things to be able to take into a job interview that you've actually already completed something on your own, right? So find a data set that you can use, right? And then build something off of it. For example, let's say that you're building a dashboard. You've never built a dashboard before ever, right? But you've got a good background in cricket, right? I know a lot of people in India, they love their cricket, right? You want to compare who are the best bowlers that have ever been in the game. Well, take data that you understand and you already know, right? You understand the stats. You know when a number is too high or if a number is too low, so that you could go back and look at the data set and go, oh, wait, we calculated that number wrong because now it's showing me -5 wickets instead of 5 wickets, right? It shouldn't be -5. That number doesn't make any sense. Having that understanding, go grab a data set that you understand. You already have some kind of background to it, and then build a dashboard off of that. That's going to teach you the best way on how to be able to build dashboards. That's going to teach you how to be able to start creating artificial intelligence programs, machine learning programs. It's going to teach you how to be able to do software programs, because you already have a reference for what the data should look like, what's true and what's not true, right? Then you can start to expand into things that you may not have complete understanding on, and be able to kind of educate yourself, because you have a better understanding of how the program works, or how your program works, or how your software works, so that when it puts out a number, you feel confident that it's correct because you already tested that same theory on data that you knew. So that's a really good point. Just find a problem that's out there and solve it. That's the very first thing. Just find a problem, solve it. Don't wait for somebody to give you the problem. Don't wait for somebody to ask you to solve it. You need to go do it yourself. You need to go find it. You need to be the one to take the initiative.
Okay, so I would now take the last question and wrap up. With the outlook of oil and gas industry, starting up an engineering company, what areas do you suggest one to major in?
Well, majoring in something is something you do in college. When you start a business, you focus on your clients, right? You focus on the problem that you're solving, the solution that you're providing, right? You don't focus on like, oh, this is what we are. Don't get so focused on saying, I'm an engineering company. Next week you might be a software company, because if somebody comes to you and says, hey, can you solve this problem? And you have the ability to solve it, and they want to pay you a lot of money to do it, and you're going to enjoy doing it, well, then go do it, right? don't get too focused on putting a label on yourself and or on your company, right? If you can start solving problems and getting paid to solve those problems and you enjoy that process, then go do it. Doesn't matter what you are, right? My company does a lot more stuff. We do a lot more than just oil field market reporting, right? I just hosted one of the oil and gas's largest online events ever with the rotary steerable event, right? That's not what Gibson Reports is all about. But guess what? We still did it. There was the opportunity to do it. There was something lacking in the industry, and we had the technical skill set to be able to get it done, right? So don't focus too much on these narrow concepts of don't try to put limiters on yourself, right? Don't do that. Just say, here's a problem. I think I've got a solution to solve it. Go solve it. Don't start to put boundaries on yourself before you've even created the company and been able to do things. I do want to answer this one. So it says sell to PE, go to VC for funds after developing dashboard. Do none of them. Do none of them. You don't need VC money. You don't need PE money. You don't need that. Just keep doing it yourself. My company has never taken $1 from anybody. We have 100% organic growth, and we have over 65% market share. Why would we go for somebody else's money? Why do we need somebody else to come in here and start telling us what to do? There's no point in it. Too many young entrepreneurs think that the most important thing is to go raise money. It's not raising money, it's making money. Stop trying to raise money and start trying to make money, right? Solve problems, have solutions, help your clients. Everything else will take care of itself. If you get focused in on this VC and private equity stuff, you're essentially what you're doing is you're asking somebody else to become your boss, and you're willing to sell that right of having the authority to be able to control where the company goes to somebody else. Because trust me, as soon as they get their piece of the pie, then they are the ones in charge. No longer are you the one in charge. There's nothing wrong with having small organic growth. And so I'll give you all some stats real quick for anybody that's listening. When I worked my last job, I got paid $130,000 a year. $130,000 a year. Last year, I made less than $35,000. But I'm 10 times happier. Right? So I make 25% less money, but I'm 10 times happier because I get to do what I want to do every day. And I don't need that much money. And any of the money we do make, we get to spend however I want to be able to spend it. That's more important than making $300,000. It's more important than going back to work for somebody else who I don't want to work for and making $130,000 a year, right? When I was working for the other person, I couldn't do these. I couldn't do a podcast. I couldn't interact with the students the way that I want to, right? This wasn't even a possibility. Now it is. So I enjoy doing this way more than I enjoy having any excess money. Plus, I mean, I live a better lifestyle now than I did then. So don't sell to VCs. Don't go looking for PE money. Develop and build your projects. And hopefully what will end up happening is the PE companies come looking for you. The VC companies come looking for you. When they start hunting you down, then you know you're onto something. And then it just becomes an opportunity for you. Do you want to sell and go start another project? Do you want to sell, let another CEO come over and then you go start a new project? Because trust me, as soon as one of them comes to you, starts knocking on your door and gives you a bunch of money, the last thing you're going to want to do is listen to whatever they have to say. What is your motivation to keep going against all the odds in the way? And how do you connect with your company? If you guys want to connect with me, send me a LinkedIn connection request. I've already got 9 so far. So since we started this, I will accept all of them. And then how do I keep motivation to going against all the odds? I love having the odds against me. I love adversity. If you can't embrace adversity and enjoy having all the things against you, then you're really not going to enjoy the entrepreneurial journey. You're not going to enjoy your career journey as well either. Tell me a movie that you watched where there was not some level of adversity during the movie, right? Even in Bollywood movies, there's some level of adversity that takes place during the movie, right? So understand your story, your journey is going to involve adversity. You just have to enjoy it. You have to start changing your mindset of thinking, oh, why is this against me? To start thinking, yes, give me a challenge. Give me more challenges. Keep them coming, because as soon as you overcome them, the joy, the dopamine rush that you get from that is absolutely blissful. So enjoy having the odds against you. Enjoy having everything stacked against you, because then it's your opportunity to be able to overcome the giant.
Well, David, to be really honest, you're one of the most incredible guests I have had till now. And it's like, after hearing you, I'm sure along with me, the audience as well, we urge to, meet you someday in person. You're an incredible person with incredible knowledge. I must say that.
Thank you. I
With that,
appreciate that.
I guess we come to the end. And thank you so much for this insightful session. I really enjoyed it, and I'm sure as people are reacting in the chat box, they have enjoyed it as well. So yeah, thank you.
Well,
Thank you so
thank
much,
you guys
David.
so much for having me here. And like I said, don't use the word fresher anymore. Don't use it. You're better than that.
Thank you. Thank you. So along with a tech session, we also had a vocabulary session, and from everybody's side, I would like to thank you for it once again. And yeah, we are keen learners, we are new to the industry, and we are not freshers. That's a great learning. So thank you, David, once again. And with that, I guess if anything else is left to say, you may go ahead, or else we'll wrap up the session.
As always, know your industry.
Industry. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much,
David.
David.
Have a good one.
And
all right.
Thank you so much, everybody, for attending. Now I would sign off, and yeah, stay safe. Good night, everybody.